and welcome. My name is Stephen Rose. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager with the OneDrive team. Today, we're going to talk about sharing and working together with all your files on OneDrive. OneDrive is part of Microsoft 365. It's our complete, intelligent, secure solution that helps to empower employees to unlock creativity. It's built for teamwork. It's integrated for simplicity with intelligent security. Whether you want to whiteboard, tap in Word, visualize information, work with PowerPoint, mixed reality in Windows 10, it's there. But the key is it's built for teamwork. It helps to provide the broadest and deepest set of apps and services with a universal toolkit, which helps to support diverse work styles. Teamwork. We live in a digital age. This year, 2/3 of global CEOs will have digital transformation at the heart of their corporate strategy. Companies invest in technologies to optimize operations, transform products, engage customers, and of course, empower employees. The universal toolkit of Microsoft 365, it is the way to do teamwork within your organization. From email and calendar to intranets through SharePoint, using Yammer to allow you to connect across your organizations, Office apps where we can co-author and work together in real time, and of course Teams, which is our hub for teamwork. Bring those together, we add in then Office groups, Microsoft Graph, and all of this wrapped in a layer of security and compliance. All of this allowing teams to easily communicate in a familiar place where they can easily create distribution lists, co-author, work together, share, and work on common topics of interest. So SharePoint, at the highest level, connects that. OneDrive is that tool that brings SharePoint and Teams and Yammer and all of these to life by allowing you to share and connect. With SharePoint, we can share and we can work together. We can inform and engage our coworkers and our audience. We can help to transform the business process and harness that knowledge, collectively bring it together, where we'll protect, we can manage, we can extend, and we can develop using SharePoint. OneDrive, at its core, is the share and work together on all of your files. OneDrive allows you to access your files from any device, Mac, PC, mobile, allows you to work the way that you want to work wherever you want to work from. You can share inside and outside of your organization. Today we'll talk about some of the new sharing features that we've brought to make it even easier and even more secure to be able to share with people in and outside of your company. Collaborate with that deep Office integration, and now we've even extended that out to our Mac apps so that you can collaborate in real time both on the desktop and in the web browser. And of course, quickly find the files that matter to you most. Information's great, but if you can't find it quickly and share it quickly, it doesn't really create a great environment for teamwork. When we take a look at SharePoint and OneDrive momentum, we're currently in over 300,000 organizations, and we are in 85% of the Fortune 500 companies. 65% of our seats and customers use our products online. We have a 90% growth in active users and over 300% growth in sync. What's really great is, and we're extremely proud of, that Gartner and Forrester put us into their Magic Quadrant or into their companies that they at the highest level recommend as part of their Forrester Wave. So getting it to not just be the leader for cloud, but also for hybrid has been a really great honor for us. Again, allowing people and companies to work the way that they want to work. But it's all about our customers. We have some great stories from some great customers like Lowe's and Avanade and NASCAR and Hershey's and Shire across all of the various industries, how people have been able to use OneDrive to build that team collaboration, to allow them to work with each other or allow their individuals to work from anywhere securely the way that they want to do so. Now, it's been a really exciting year for us. In the past 14, 15 months, we've released over 100, I believe we're now at about 120 new features and bits of functionality, and a lot of it has been driven by our office. It's great to bring new functionality. It's great to bring features, but what's really important is that we work with you to better understand what are the bits of features and functionality that really are critical to you and your business. If you're not familiar with our user voice site, we encourage you to check it out. User voice is where you can go as our audience, suggest a feature or upvote a feature that another user has said, this would be really great for my company. I'm really proud that since 2016, out of the 100 or so features that we've shipped in the past year, that 43 of those have been driven by you and user voice. 42,000 votes alone for Files on Demand, the feature that we delivered last October as part of the Fall Creators Update, Windows Build 1709. It's functionality like this and listening to you that really helps us not just to drive innovation, but to create a great balance between evolution and revolution. Evolution, the features that you need to be able to help your employees to work better and smarter and faster and more securely. And revolution, features that you may not expect that allows you to do new things and to open up new avenues of work that allow you to work in ways that maybe you didn't expect, but that your users are finding as a great way to collaborate and work with others. Let's dig into some of the great new functionality that we have. We'll start with being able to access from all your devices. We'll talk about our full fidelity export, where we now support over 270 different file types and previewers. We'll take a look at that both on the desktop and on the web. We'll show you Files on Demand and do a demo. We'll take a look at our 4.7 star rated app with almost 50,000 votes. We actually have the highest rated app for a cloud product that's out there today that allows you to sync and share. And of course, access your personal sites and your content, both with the OneDrive files and Sharepoint team files in the same place. When it comes to working with everyone, the ability to be able to co-author right from your desktop, the ability to be able to share inside or outside of your organization or do that securely with people that don't have an Office 365 account is critical. Securely share email files using modern attachments in Outlook and be able to stay up to date with those activities and notifications. So let's jump into a demo. So let's start by taking a look at Files on Demand. Files on Demand is a feature that's part of the Fall Creators Update, Build 1709 for Windows. The functionality comes not just from OneDrive, but also from Windows. Let's take a look. Until I actually click one of the files, open it up locally, does it then hydrate to the local device? So what does that look like? Well, I can take a file like this document one. I can go ahead and double click it. We can now see here that that icon has turned to a green check mark with a white center. That means that this document has in fact been opened. I can see it here. I can go ahead and I can close that out. I can see that that document's been opened and it now sits locally on this device. If I click another one, we'll see it go through that same process. You can see it's very quick. It's very, very responsive in how it works. Now, these documents will stay on the device until you start to run out of room. When you get to 5% disk space or less, it will take a look at the oldest files on your device, the ones that you haven't used in the longest amount of time, and it will go ahead and move those back to the cloud. It's not going to delete them. It's just going to remove them from the local device, but you'll still see them and you'll still be able to search for them. If we want a file to stay permanently on the device and be available offline in a situation where we don't have internet or LTE coverage, for example, you're on an airplane, don't want to pay for the in-flight internet, but you still need to work, you can take a file like the one that we just opened, this financial model. And what I can do here is I can right-click, and I can go up here and I can say, always keep on this device. And by doing that, what is going to happen is, let's do that again. Always keep on this device. We'll see that folder and that file now has that solid green check mark. That means that's going to stay on this device. It will not be removed unless you choose to either delete that file, which then will synchronize and delete the copy in the cloud, or you choose to free up space, which I can simply do by right mouse clicking, choose free up space, and you'll see that immediately turns that back to a cloud icon. That file is still viewable. It is still, through Find, but it's now in the cloud and it's no longer taking up room on the hard drive. This becomes especially valuable when you take a look at things like SharePoint team sites that you can be able to view team sites that you're working with. You can synchronize via OneDrive. You'll see it pop up under your company name, but you don't need all that content. You can pick and choose exactly which files you'd like to have on your device. So that's Files on Demand. Files on Demand also brings another great feature, one that I really love, and I'm going to go here into this extra large view, and you'll see if we scroll down that ability of file viewers. So for example, if I take a look here, this blueprint, this is a Adobe Illustrator file. I do not have Adobe Illustrator installed on this device, but yet through the file viewers, which work both in SharePoint and OneDrive, and of course through our mobile and through our web, and I'll show that to you in a few moments, you're able to see a full fidelity thumbnail of that file. What's great is we have over 270 different file types that we currently work with. So in addition to all of the Adobe formats like Illustrator, Photoshop, and things like that, for those of you who work in the medical industry, we also support DICOM. DICOM is the most commonly used image when we get into things like X-rays, and we can see here all of these files. If I were to double-click and open one of these, it would say I need a viewer or an application to do so. But what's great is these files can be extremely large. This allows me to not have to download them to open them up and see what is inside that file. And we're going to be extending and adding more viewers for more and more different file types. If there's one that you don't see that you really need, again, I encourage you to go out to User Voice, put a listing in there, and we'll take a look at that and we'll respond back to you. So what I want to do here, and this is what's great, so we can see all of our folders, we can see which one's in the clouds, we can see all of our files, is I'd now like to take you to the mobile view. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is the mobile view looks exactly like the desktop view. And that's really great. And you're going to see here, there's that Adobe Illustrator. What's really cool is if I choose and open up this Space Needle, it'll take a few moments, but what it will do is it will go ahead and we support 3D viewers and 3D objects. So you can see here that I can pinch and zoom and I can manipulate this file right here inside my browser without any special plugins required. As I go through, I can see all the files, and if I hover over one of these files, I get some great information. I'm able to see when that file was last modified, how many views that file has had, and a very quick and easy way to share. If I go into see details, over here on the pane in the right, I'm able to scroll through that document. I'm able to see who has access, and I can even click here to manage access for that document and remove, add, grant access to new users as I so see fit. So we've kept that very, very easy for you to be able to take a look at. Before you walk into a meeting, it's very easy for you to see, have all the people that I'm having a meeting with taken a look at this file and been prompted on it. I want to take a step back and I want to talk about sharing and how we've made sharing the same across all of our platforms. So if I were to take, let's say this, let's find a good one. Let's take this quarterly executive report. Now, I can see that here it is. I can see who has access to it, all of that information, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that pane. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Share. I'm going to see that comes up very, very quickly and very, very easily. And I have 4 choices inside of Share. Now, before I dig into Share too far, I want to show you something really great. So I'm going to go back to my desktop. I'm going to right-click a file. Matter of fact, I'm going to pick exactly that same file, that quarterly summary report. I'm going to choose Share, and you're going to see here that the dialog box looks identical. That same pop-up, the same 4 choices, and again, that's based on admin controls. If I were to do this on a Mac, it would look exactly the same. And actually, if I even go here into PowerPoint and I choose Share, so inside of Office and SharePoint, that dialog box looks the same. It's been really important to have that ubiquity across all of our products, that sharing looks the same, works the same, and has the same expectation. Let's go back to our sharing on the web. So we'll close out here. And we'll go back, and I'll go back to that quarterly report, and I'll go ahead and I'll pick Share. Now, what's great is I have 4 choices. Anyone. I want to share with anybody who has a Microsoft Service account. That can either be a live account or an Office 365 account, inside, outside of my company. People in my company easily share with folks across my company, people that already have existing access, and finally, specific people. This is a new feature, secure external sharing with passcode. Let's walk through them. Now, what's great is no matter which one of these you pick, let's say I just pick people within my company and I hit apply, all I need to do is choose copy link, hit copy, and I'm ready to cut and paste that link into an IM window, into an email. I can click and share on any of these levels in just 2 short moves. So we've made it very simple and very, very easy to do. If I want to get a little bit more, have a little bit more control, again, we talked about that anyone. That's anyone with a Microsoft account inside or outside of the company. And you'll notice here, it's going to ask for a date range. The administrator has said you're allowed to share files with anyone, but only for 90 days. At that point, they'll no longer have access to the file, and they'll need to resubmit to get access to that file again. Now, an administrator can choose any date range. They could say shares are only good for 1 day or a week or 90 days or a year. It's completely up to you. And then the user can pick a time frame within that you've set. Let's say you pick 12 months, but they decide the person's only working on this project for 60 days. They can choose 60 days. So they can say, hey, that's only going to be good until, let's say, February 28th. They go ahead, they click apply, they type in a name for that user, they hit send, they're ready to go. Internal, just as easy. Taps into your global access list or Active Directory. We can choose, and our IT has said users are allowed to choose if it's read-only or read-write-execute. So we could say, sure, allow this person to edit. I could hit apply, and I could type in anybody's name. There's Randy, my Vice President of Marketing. Type in a quick note for him and copy that link, send it, or even click Outlook, which will launch my Outlook web access. Put that link right there and make it ready to send. Now, one of the newest features that we released is something called time of access or secure external sharing with passcode. What this allows you to do is to share a file with anyone, anywhere. Now, if this is turned on, I can share something with someone who does not have a Microsoft account nor an Office 365 account, let's say a Gmail account, and allow them to work with this. So I can say specific people. I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and I'm going to type in a Gmail account here. So that's great. And I'm going to say, yep, it says, hey, this person's outside of your organization. I can say, here is the file. And I can say, send. So it's going to go ahead and send that mail. And it says, great. So let's talk about how that experience looks to the person who's just received that. Well, we'll go here and we'll give it a second for it to show up. There we go. So we'll go here and it says Stephen Rose wants to share quarterly executive summary with you. So I click here and watch what happens next. I'm going to go ahead and click this email. And now it's going to come up and say, I need a verification code. Now, what's great is once I click this, that code is going to be sent to the same email address that original email was sent to, and that code will only be good for 15 minutes. It can't be forwarded to somebody else, and it can't be reused. So we're making sure that the email address for that person is the email address that we promised, and that code is only good for a very short period of time. So we'll request that code. Great. So now we're going to go back into Gmail. We'll go into that same area, and now we're going to look for that code. This code is a one-time use code. It's only good for 15 minutes. So I'll go ahead and I'll click here, and it will tell me, security purposes, here it is. It's only 15 minutes. I can't forward it to anybody else. It came to the same email address that original invite came to. So I'll go ahead and I'll click copy. I'll go back here. I'm going to paste in my code. And I can also choose to keep me signed in, which will then create a token for the length of that access. And there is that quarterly executive summary. Now, one final thing that's really great is now if I go back to this file and I take a look at information and I go to manage access, I can see that I've shared this with people inside my company, and I've also shared this link externally with a Gmail address. If I decide suddenly that, you know what, I don't want that person to have access to that file anymore, all I need to do is click that. I'll remove that link, and next time that person goes to launch it, it'll say, I'm sorry, you no longer have access. Please contact, and it would give my name. Sharing securely, one of the brand new features that we've released with OneDrive in the past few months. So that functionality really allows us to very quickly and easily share with anyone, like we said, inside, outside our company, securely, or in a easy to quick share manner. As we take a look at finding files fast, finding content can be one of the biggest inefficiencies that we found on a daily basis. With OneDrive, we want to help you to find files fast. You can get back to your recent files easily. You can take a look at what's been shared by who and which date range, and even focus really nicely on exactly what you want to find. Let's take a look at that. So here we are once again in our files view. What I'm going to do is I am going to go to a compact list view just to make it a little more interesting. And what we see here is, again, the names of all of those files and folders. But what gets really great is when you get into things like shared with me. Now, shared with me allows you to see all the files that anybody has shared with you, internally, externally, etc. But this can hold a lot of files. It could be a little bit confusing. How do we make it more easy to manage? Well, there's some great things that we can do. The first thing that I can do is I can say, let's group the shared by me. So what it will do is it will take a look at all of the folks who have shared content with me, and simply by clicking this caret up here, I can see all of the different people who have shared files. Now, in addition to that, and this is where things really get cool, I can filter. So I can click here, and I can say, you know what, just show me PowerPoint files, or only show me PowerPoint files from a specific person, or even a date range. Show me some of the oldest ones, or just show me ones that have been modified today. So what's great is I can really get down to exactly what I'm looking for. I can also at this point say, that's great, but let's put the oldest to newest as I break that down. So now I can see by who's shared PowerPoints with me, going back to the oldest ones to the newest ones. I can sort by activity. That ability to be able to find quickly. If you're in Windows, you can search right from your Windows search bar and search all of your content in the cloud right from your desktop. Or we can look at shared with me. We're very excited to announce that shared by me, the same view that allows you to see everything that you have shared with folks, is also going to be coming to the browser in the next few weeks. And you'll be able to do that exact same sort, move back and forth, and find exactly what you're looking for. Now, what you're going to see is this great experience, which allows you to do all this, extends out to mobile. So we're going to take a moment here, and we're going to take a look at how that works inside of iOS and Android. So many of you work with mobile, and being able to not just work from anywhere, but work the way you want and have a great experience is absolutely critical to what we do. So here we are inside of our iOS app, and you'll see that the app has exactly that same look and feel that the web page did. We can easily see which folders are shared. We're getting those great previewers, so we can still see all of those files and all of that content. And all of that's right here. What's nice is if we want to take a file offline, all we have to do is, again, we'll go back to that, that same report. There's that quarterly executive summary. I can just easily share a link, delete, make available offline, move, get details, rename that file, all of that from right there. So I'm going to say, let's make that file offline. And then you'll see down here at the bottom, there's now a check mark that tells me that this file is now available offline. When I go to my Me view, I can click Offline Files, and I can see here very simply and very easily all the files that are offline. I can now work on these, and then when I'm done, a simple click, make available online, immediately moves those files back online, synchronizing all those changes that I've made and anybody else has made to the file, and they're ready to go. On the left, we can see the most active files. I can even click on views, take a look and see who's viewed this in the past week, how many views, how many all time. So, and I can switch between, if I have multiple OneDrive accounts and even OneDrive Consumer, I can switch between these very easily. I can see all of the files that I've shared simply right here. There's all the folders, there's all the files, there's everything I've done, when it was last shared, all that information. I can see all my Sharepoint sites, the most recent files that I've worked with, and that ability to come back to my regular files. Now, one of my favorite features that we have in the mobile app is the ability to scan markup directly from the mobile app. And now with Flow, you could even create automated workflows based on that. Let's show you how that works. So I have a receipt here. So I can first go in and let's create a new folder. And we will call, I already have a folder called Receipts. I was going to create one. That's fine. So let's go here into my folder called Receipts. I'm going to create a new subfolder, and we're going to call that we'll call that Italy. It's now created. Great. So now I'm in the folder. I have a receipt here, so I'm going to hit the little plus sign, and I'm going to choose Scan. So let's show you how this works. I'm going to go over here. I've picked document. So there is my document. I'm going to hit process. And notice using that Office Lens technology, there's our receipt. Nice copy. I can zoom in, zoom out. So I want to go ahead and upload. So I'm going to upload that file. We'll give that a moment to come up. I can then go in. I can rename that file. But there's some pretty cool stuff that I can do with it. So let's launch that. And if I want to make that available offline, I can, first of all, rename this, and let's call this, we'll call that Milano Hotel, so that it's easier for me to remember the name of it. I'm going to zoom down here on the page, and that was my total. So what I want to do here is I want to go in. I've got a pen that I can pick. I can also pick the color that I want to use, or I can pick this one. Let's go in and pick that nice red color, and I can go in and say, great, and I can circle that total. So I can, when I send this to my boss, I can add a note right here, and I can say this is for 4 days of hotel. All right, so I can say, great, that's for 4 days of hotel. I can add some other nomenclature to this. So now that I've circled this total, I'm now ready to go ahead, and at this point, I can share this out via Outlook. I can share via Imessage, which allows me to send somebody a file that looks just like a picture. When they click it, though, they're being linked into the share, the same way we work with modern attachments in Outlook, which is great. I send a modern attachment. It's really sending a link to the file in my OneDrive, but to an end user, it looks like I've just sent them a file. They don't realize when they click and open, that file's in the cloud. I can save it to the iOS Files app. I can copy this link. I can send it. I have a wide variety of things that I can do, but all right from my phone, right built into the app, ready to go. And like I said, you can add a workflow to this via Flow. Now, all of this, again, is great functionality, but being secure is at our core. Let's take a few minutes and talk about some of the new security features, as well as some of the cool new deployment features we have around OneDrive. Security of your data is critical. With new features like IRM Sync, multi-geo capabilities, as well as the ability to hold your own Azure encryption key are critical to admins. But for end users, we want to ensure that it's not just secure, but in case you get a corrupted file, that you get malware, that you can easily recover and get back to exactly where you were at so you can work quickly. One of the new features that we've just announced is a feature called Files Restore. Now, it's important to understand that with OneDrive, all of our files are encrypted at rest and in transfer. This new feature allows you to undo or roll back to a specific point in time and then recover from, like I said, a mass corruption and be able to do that not by having to call your admin, but allowing end users to do this themselves. So let's take a look at our newest feature called Files Restore. Now, this is currently rolling out to end users, but the goal is any file within the last 30 days can be easily recovered. So how does this work? Well, an end user goes into settings and they'll notice a feature down on the bottom right that says Restore OneDrive. It's right there in their settings section. Once they click that, they'll then get a screen that says Restore my OneDrive. It'll list all of the features and all of the save points or restore points that those documents have gone through over the past 30 days. So it's not just recovering that file, but it's recovering it from a very specific point in time. You can use the slider. You can say just today. You can say customize the date and time. It's really up to you to pick that time range. You can then simply click all the files or just the ones that you need to recover, which could go anywhere from one file to all of the files in your drive, and then click Restore. Once you click Restore, you'll get a prompt. It'll say, are you sure you want to do this? You're about to restore 12,000 files, one file, 50 file, etc. And once you do so, it will then restore those files back to your OneDrive, and you'll be able to work and pick up exactly where you left off at that point when you got that issue that caused you and forced you to do the restore. Files Restore is a unique feature which we've brought to OneDrive to help end users to better help to support themselves and make it easier for them to recover more quickly from a disaster. Protect and manage for admins. We have some great things around global scale, conditional access policies that we can bring. Most people are not aware of the great features and functionality that we have within OneDrive that allow administrators to go in and, as I like to call it, create a sphere of control, an area where an admin can go in and say, these are the boundaries for which I want people to be able to share, to be able to work with others, what files are going to be synced and who they can share with, so that end users can easily work within that. Let's take a look at that. And here we are. So let's take a look at a few of the areas. So first of all, we have sharing. And inside of sharing, we can pick what the default link is. We want to be able to share with anyone, internal, external. We've made external sharing even more simply. Remember I showed you how the links must expire within a certain amount of time and an end user can pick that? We see that here. And even what the default is, whether it's view or that we want to make the default view, edit, and upload. So we can say for folders, you can only view, but when you share a file, those can be edited and worked with to whatever level that you want. Sharing, we've made very simple. If you don't want people to be able to share with anyone externally, then you can just say only existing users or only people within your organization. Very simply allowing no external sharing to happen. And we can do this across sharing with SharePoint and OneDrive. Remember, Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint are all external SharePoints. And what's great is through the O365 Compliancy and Trust Center, we can manage those all. As we take a look at external sharing, we can allow our block sharing with people in specific domains. If we check this, we can add domains, and what happens is it will pop up and allow us a whitelist or a blacklist. We can say you're only allowed to share with these domains, or you're not allowed to share with these. You can pick and choose which one is easier for you to be able to do within your organization. Users must accept sharing invitations from the same account that they were sent to, and even the ability to let external users share items that they don't own. When we get into sync, we can show the sync button. We can allow syncing only on PCs that are joined to specific domains. Again, we can once again create a whitelist or blacklist. We can also block the syncing of specific file types. For example, we don't recommend syncing PSTs. Those are constantly being used. It makes a poor workload to happen. And a lot of users will try to dump that into a file thinking that's how they're doing backup rather than doing an archive or something along that line. So we could say, hey, don't allow any .psts, and let's also not allow any ISO files. So we very simply were able to go in, pick two different file types, save those, and now these are not going to be allowed to be synced in OneDrive. I simply hit save, and we're ready to go. We can choose what the default storage is for each user, and even how long to retain files once a user has been removed from OneDrive. Under device access, we can allow access only from specific IP address ranges, and even allow access from apps that don't use modern authentication, or force that, biometrics, fingerprint, face, again, who you are, not what you know, as a way to access and authorize access to content. If I were using MDM, I would see my choices down here, block downloading of files and apps, block printing, block taking screenshots. All of that can be done by using Windows Intune to be able to control those external policies. Notifications, I have a wide variety of notifications. I can email OneDrive owners when a user sends an invite to somebody else to share a file, when somebody accepts, or even anonymous access link is created or changed or edited. Under compliancy, we see links into our DLP, retention, e-discovery and alert center, which brings us into our Office 365 Compliancy Center. This gives an admin a lot of great control where they can go through and do data classifications and labeling. They can even set up a DLP policy. So very simply, I can go in, create a policy. I can say that we're a health organization, and I want to make sure that we protect any content that holds any personally identifiable information or medical terms. I can hit next. I'll keep the default name for this. And what's great is I can go ahead and choose here. Let me choose specific locations. And we're saying this policy works across Exchange email. We can pick the recipients and who to exclude. SharePoint, again, being able to choose which sites are and are not allowed and that this policy will be applied to. And the same with OneDrive, which accounts are allowed and not allowed to send this type of data. So again, being all exit points, if you have a lot of the setup for email, you can extend these across SharePoint, you can extend these across OneDrive, which is what's great. We can then go in and we can say next. We can pick what our policy settings are, that this is only for people within or outside my organization, or even go into advanced settings where we can pick and choose all of these rules. We can customize them. There's a lot of great control here. There's one other area I want to point out when we get into, we have our data governance, we have our threat management, but under search and investigation, we have our content search. And what's great here is I can go ahead and hit the plus sign, and I can go ahead and search across all locations for a specific type of content, and then I can put a hold on those. Any content from this person, from this group that contains these terms has to be in a 5-year hold and cannot be deleted. So very easily and simply I can do that. I can also do an audit log search, which allows me to be able to go in where I can say, show me everybody who has shared a file this week. Show me everybody who has removed a company shareable link, or who has deleted a group or deleted a site or sent a message with specific activities, who's added a user, who's changed delegation on a file, who has copied a file, deleted a file, downloaded it, moved it. You have a great control over being able to see exactly what your users are doing. And these reports, of course, you can automate those, have those sent to yourself on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to better understand what's going on inside of your organization. So, a lot of great control from a security standpoint around what we can do and how things work inside of Office using that. Now, one of the also newer features and one of the things that we talked about at Ignite this year was the Microsoft 365 powered device, and how we can use a tool like Windows Autopilot to provision a device that we've never seen, that a user can go out, buy a laptop, connect to Autopilot, and using the cloud and Azure Active Directory, how they are able to create this great experience, bring a device back to exactly the moment that that device crashed. Well, how does that work? Well, again, I talked about Windows Autopilot, being able to connect to the cloud and moving through that experience. Leveraging Exchange Online and Office Outlook allows you to not have to deal with PSTs, that when the user logs into this device for the first time and they connect, all of their email, which is so important to end users, is going to be there. And part of Windows Autopilot is Windows. And one of the great features that we released about a year ago was something called the Windows 10 Anniversary Edition, which took the functionality called UEV, User Experience Virtualization, which helps to take all of the customizations that you've made to your laptop, from bookmarks to background patterns and desktops, and move those from device to device, so that as you provision a new device or move between two devices, that experience stays the same. And finally, Files on Demand, part of the Fall Creators Update, using our Silent Sync account configuration, a feature that we're getting ready to bring out a preview, which allows you to completely set up OneDrive, provision it for a user at first run on a new device without them having to be engaged. So let's show how that works. I have a video here, so we'll go ahead and we'll start that up. And what we'll see here is this is a device where the user has turned it on, they've typed in their corporate credentials, and we've actually, at this point, it's asking them to give a little bit of information about where they're at, the keyboard layout. They have after typing in their initial name rather than ask them for a password, it launched the Windows Authentication tool, which requires them then to use their thumbprint to prove who they are. Again, not what you know, but what you have. So we've now done that. Now what's going to happen at this point is a group policy is going to upgrade Windows 10 Pro to Windows 10 Enterprise. That's a feature and part of Windows 10. So here we see the user typing in their name. It'll then go out, authenticate them through the app, confirm that they are who they really say they are. They're typing in their password. So it will go through that level of authentication. Upgrade from Pro to Enterprise. It'll push down group policies. And at that point, MDM will kick in. MDM will go ahead and deploy apps to this device, things like Dynamics and different third-party apps. It will put Office on there. And as part of that, as soon as we connect with Office, with Exchange Online, all of that user's email is going to come over. And with Files on Demand, it will connect to OneDrive, and then we'll immediately see those clouds and icons, and I'm able to see all of my files right there on my desktop, and then I can pick and choose, and even if I want as part of the script, pick and choose the files that are already on the device, or I can sit down, click a few of those to open up because those are my most used files. And this will allow the end user to pick up right where they left off at when their previous laptop died, because there's their bookmarks, there's their desktop, there's their applications. Let's take a look. So the device is now launched. So we're going to go down here and we can see that Dynamics and the Expense app have been installed as part of the MDM package. We also see that Office is there. And we notice the Files on Demand pop up. Files on Demand, auto configuration has happened. All of the user's files are going to be there, and we'll show that to you in just a moment. As we zoom in, we can see that Anna's name is there, so it knows who she is. It's properly connected the device to her and her account. And when we click in and take a look, we can see that all of the applications and everything that's important to that user is there. So MDM and group policies work correctly to go ahead and provision this device. We'll now take a look and we'll see that this device is successfully also upgraded from Windows 10 Pro to Windows 10 Enterprise and has leveraged that company's enterprise key. So we can see that there, that we've gone ahead and that part of the process has happened correctly. Next, we'll take a look. We can already see that this user's files are on the desktop, and when we take a look inside their My Docs, we can see all of their files are right there. Everything important is right there for them. Their pictures, their background patterns, their desktops, their browser. Everything that makes this PC unique to that person and allows them to get back to work quickly is there as part of this process. We're very excited to see what our users can do leveraging Autopilot, OneDrive, and the power that Office 365 brings to end users. To wrap up, a few things to be aware of. Our Fast Track service. If you're coming from Box, Google, or from shared drives, we actually provide free migration services to allow you to move from those to OneDrive. We also have a self-service kit. So if you're a smaller company, maybe 50 users or less, and you want to move to OneDrive, you can look at our self-service migration toolkit. It'll walk you through it step by step with wizards and help you to easily and simply move to OneDrive to help your users. Some great resources you should be aware of. Of course, check out our OneDrive.com/business, which is our main site where you'll find our why content, learn about OneDrive. Our techcommunity.microsoft.com/OneDrive, where you'll find our OneDrive blog, which lists the latest features and functionality that we're releasing and your ability to read up about that. And of course, OneDrive.uservoice.com, which I talked about earlier, for you to upvote features that you'd like to see in the product or suggest features and functionality that you would like our engineering team to take a look at and bring to the product. Also, coming this May is our Sharepoint Conference North America. We will be showing off the latest features and functionality and what's going to be coming to OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Yammer. So if you are looking to start rolling out some of this functionality, if you really want to learn how to leverage your investment, we encourage you to come out to the SharePoint Conference. Join us in Las Vegas in May and hear about some of the great new things we're going to be bringing to the product. Get a chance to engage with our experts and product team, as well as some of the best consultants and best companies in the world currently using OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Yammer, Stream, and all of those great products to hear that. I want to thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you've seen how OneDrive can help your team to better collaborate, work together and have a better environment for teamwork, how it allows you to share seamlessly, securely, and allows you to work from anywhere and from any device. Thanks for joining me. We look forward to hearing your OneDrive story.